So there's definitely been a shift towards adding support services to looking at the kind of broader ecosystem of social, emotional, and mental support. And some of that has come through COVID, which has really made a big shift towards a digital ecosystem kind of evolving. And you're seeing pharma companies understand that and integrate that into their programs. So while traditionally you're just incorporating things like financial support and sample kits, today now you're bringing in partnerships like Headspace and Sanvello and Calm and these kind of softer side of pharma, which I think is really nice to see, of treating the patient as a person and not you have to take this drug X times per day or per month or per week. And it's just that broader ecosystem has been a huge change. I think what's most important in the next couple of years is making it easier for the patients to understand where they are in the experience. There's so many patients that are diagnosed and it's just a polarizing moment in their life and they forget everything the doctor says, then they have a call with the hub or the specialty pharmacy and it's just too much to process. So now in the next couple of years, it's going to just get easier for patients to understand where they are in their journey, understand what a benefits investigation and prior authorization is, understand how they can make it easier and get through that faster, and then wrap that around with the copay and the traditional support that you've had. And I think as patients get more comfortable understanding where they are, they'll start grabbing things a little bit more and using all these other support services that may not have been available. I also think that patients are going to start understanding their data more. And as you look at digital health and you look at remote patient monitoring and you look at all the different trends that are happening now to give patients control of their data, you're definitely going to see that making a big change. And then from the manufacturer side of things, it's all around data as well. It's how do you structure that data, how do you capture that data, and how do you use that to understand which patients are at risk, who's taking your product well versus who's dropping off product and potentially being risky. And today that's managed through hubs and call centers and kind of a very human-based approach. But in the future, it's going to be more automated, more digital, more reminders, more feeling like you're meeting patients where they are and not creating a whole separate work stream of a phone call that has to reach out to someone. As you have curative therapies coming in, as you have products that have very complex distribution networks and supply chains, you're starting to see everything start earlier. You're starting to see commercial work better with market access and medical and kind of be that 3M team coming together. You're starting to see things break. And especially during the curative therapy, the first cell and gene therapies, pharma's traditional approaches to a playbook to say, start this at 36 months is sometimes not early enough. So they're redoing their playbooks, they're starting their strategy earlier, and they're really taking the time to get the strategy right before just jumping into some of the tactical planning, which too often happens too late. I think there's two big trends in disease states right now. Some disease states are getting crowded and almost commoditized. So if you think of something like diabetes, it's now becoming a pricing, reimbursement, market access play. And companies are continuing to invest in new molecules, and there's some really exciting new molecules coming out from the kind of treatment side of things. And those companies are now saying, how do we make this experience better for our customers? From a patient's perspective, how do you integrate digital health? And how do you really give patients an understanding of what's happening in their body and reminding them to dose and wrapping that around and connecting them to physicians and the broader care ecosystem? And then other states are just getting completely upended by things like curative therapies. So for the first time in hemophilia or in oncology or in some very niche rare diseases, they're now potentially being cured. And if you are a company not with that curative therapy, you're rethinking your approach to launch of how do you differentiate, what are the subsegments or specific targets, versus if you're a company who's launching these first curative therapies, which patients are going to try it? Where are the big kind of early adopters versus where's the rest of the population going to kind of fit behind everyone else? I feel like it's been slow to uptake, and you consistently see pharma companies question if it's going to pay off and what the time frame looks like for that. But at the end of the day, digital health gives patients a better understanding of their body, of their health, and should fit within their existing lifestyle. So all of us have smartphones, we're tracking our steps, we're tracking, many of us, what we're eating, energy in and energy out. When you start layering that into product dosing and start coupling that with a partner ecosystem, again, I think diabetes is really exciting here, where you can connect a CGM with a connected pen and understand when you should take your product, what happens within your body when you take that product through this partnership ecosystem, And then you can use that to integrate with physicians to make personalized dosing algorithms. And that kind of personalization of medicine is something that becomes unlocked through digital health and some of these better understanding of data. Curative therapies are just totally different. And many companies are embarking on their first launch where they're realizing that their traditional timeframes aren't working. They're looking at the complexities of supply, the complexities of distribution, of shipping. They're looking at the complexities from a market access perspective, where maybe you have 2 or 3 years of clinical data, but your value prop is showing that there's 10 years worth of outcomes and you're working with payers for the first time to justify that. So you're seeing companies start earlier from access perspective, from distribution, from planning. You're also seeing patient services, going back to our original conversation, of that has to start earlier because these curative therapies are a very difficult decision in a patient's life. There's the emotional, social kind of change in your body, and then there's the educational of what does a gene therapy or a cell therapy actually mean? And that means something different to every person. A patient understands it differently than a physician, and when those types of therapies are brought up for the first time, each patient is going to take something back differently. So what we're seeing is companies are starting 4, 5, 6 years pre-launch to understand the patient, understand the lexicon of what patients hear versus what physicians say, and understand how you start some of the market access, distribution, and services earlier.